Alright, so it's time for another Mommy Monday video. This one will be the birth of my third and last child. So I'll have all of my kids' birth stories on here. If you missed them, make sure you check up above for the links so you can go back and see my other two birth stories. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button. So, my third kid. Somewhere, I think, in the back of my mind, I don't think I knew this and really comprehended this right off the bat, but I think somewhere I kind of knew this was going to be my last kid. So I guess between the unconscious part knowing that, and also by this point I was feeling a lot better about myself. I was on medication and I was feeling a lot better about things. I think I kind of had a little more fun, I guess you could say, with this pregnancy. My pregnancy announcement when I found out I was pregnant with him was a little more fun, a little more spunky than my past two. When I found out he was going to be a boy, I colored the tips of my hair blue as a way to announce it. I just kind of thought that would be fun. Of course, if it was a girl, I would have done the same thing with my hair, only with pink. That being said, though, there were also complications with this pregnancy that definitely towards the end I realized it was going to be my last pregnancy. With those complications, though, there was a little bit of a silver lining in that at the 33-week mark, I was able to get this ultrasound picture of him that shows his face just perfectly. With his face, you can easily see his eye, where his nose is, his hand. It was just a great picture. This is my favorite ultrasound picture. I thought it was so great. I wish the complications hadn't have been there to where I wouldn't have got it, but I am grateful that I did get this cool picture. That being said, let's get into the labor and delivery story of my third kid. With issues that had happened with the birth of my second daughter, I kind of decided I wanted to do things a little bit differently this go around. I typically had either had an OBGYN or a family doctor with my past few births, and I wanted to do something different. I wanted to have a little bit more control over my labor process. So I opted to go for a midwife instead of a doctor or an OBGYN. But that being said, I also wanted to be a little bit cautious and careful, given that my first daughter was born with a congenital heart defect. I definitely wanted to be in a hospital with medical stuff there in case this baby was also born with something wrong, which thankfully he wasn't. He was perfectly healthy, spoiler alert. Just in case something had been wrong or something that needed immediate intervention, we would be in a place where that could happen. So I picked a midwife who, by the way, this was the best midwife in the world. I could not have asked for a better midwife. I picked a midwife who also worked alongside an OBGYN, which ended up being very good for me since I ended up having complications that really needed an OB to help with, but it was the best of both worlds. So I definitely got the control I wanted over it, but at the same time, when things happened and kind of went a little bit wrong, the medical professionals were there right away to be able to help. So definitely best of both worlds. But I woke up on my due date. Not everybody has their babies on their due date, but I woke up right on my due date having kind of cramps and stuff like that at 2 a.m, kind of similar to my first kid, where it was just crampy. It wasn't really contractions, but it was just cramps. So I kind of rolled over, went back to sleep. At 5 a.m. I woke up and I could tell they were contractions, but they were very weak. So I'd kind of time them and stuff like that, and they were about 5 minutes apart that I was timing them, but they weren't really strong. With my past two labors, the contractions that I had were really, really strong and intense. This one was kind of, I guess I could describe it kind of like period cramps. They were noticeable, they were regular, but they weren't intense. They were very very mild. So I sent my midwife a message on Facebook, because we had Facebook and I could talk with her like that, and just to kind of give her a heads up. Hey, I'm starting to have contractions. I don't think it's time to go to the hospital yet, but I just want to give you a heads up that, hey, you're probably going to see me today. And she sent me a message back. She said, well, okay, I've got one room left at the hospital, and I've got one birthing pool left too. And I said, oh. So do we need to go ahead and head that way then? Because I didn't want someone else to get in there before me, obviously. So my midwife lived about 40 minutes from the hospital. So we took my two kids, we dropped them off at my parents' house, and then knowing that my midwife was 40 minutes away, if we ran to the hospital, we would just end up twiddling our thumbs waiting. My contractions were regular, but they weren't strong. We decided to go get some breakfast because once I got admitted to the hospital, I wasn't going to be able to eat anything, and I wanted to be able to have that energy. Went to Shoney's, of all places, and ate breakfast, and it was just kind of a nice little breakfast and everything, and then we went to the hospital. They got me there, they checked me and said, oh, you're 5 centimeters, and I said, really? Like, I was totally expecting to be like maybe 3 centimeters, maybe, if that, because while my contractions were regular, they were not strong at all. So she said, well, since you're 5 centimeters and you're going to be getting into the birth pool, that will kind of relax you. I kind of want to make sure these contractions stay going, especially since they're not that strong. Let's go ahead and break your water. So she broke my water, and there was meconium in it. So that was a little worrying for us, because obviously that can mean something could be wrong with the baby. So that was a little worrying. So they wanted to keep me on a little bit more monitoring than they were, but it still wasn't that bad. As you can see by these pictures, I was still allowed to get up and move around pretty much as I wished. I could still get into the birth pool and stuff like that. I wanted to take a picture of my pregnant belly for the last time because I had a feeling this would be the last time, and it was. So I definitely had that freedom. Now with the birth pool, I didn't dislike it, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. I ended up just getting in the shower. I got in the shower of the hospital room, and my husband just kind of brought a little stool over and sat down kind of beside me, and I just stayed in the shower for the majority of my labor. I really did, and he and I just talked, about stuff that was happening in the news, TV stuff, just general stuff. It was like just a normal day. My contractions never really got strong at all. They never got intense or painful or anything like that. And that was one of the things I was very, very worried about, because I was foregoing an epidural for this because I wanted to have a little bit more, control and say over everything. So I was very, very concerned and worried about the contractions getting to be so painful that I couldn't stand it and would end up, wanting an epidural. But they never did. They never got strong at all. I had been in the shower. Let's see, I got to the hospital at about 9-ish in the morning. Got in the shower, I'm going to say maybe around 11:30 or so. At around 3 in the afternoon, because they had been coming in and, kind of checking the baby's heart rate and stuff like that to make sure nothing was wrong. But around 3 in the afternoon, the nurse came in and said, hey, let's go ahead and move you out of the shower and into the bed because I think it might be about time. And I said, what do you mean? My contractions are not, they're not strong at all. And she goes, yeah, but let's just go ahead and check you. So they checked me, and I was 8 centimeters already. And I'm like, holy cow, are you serious? I'm 8 centimeters? Because these contractions, they had slowed down. They were maybe once every 10 minutes, and they were not that strong at all. And my midwife checks me, and she goes, yeah, you are so close. On your next contraction, I'd give just a little bitty push just to kind of get you over that hump, and then I think you'd be fully dilated. So on the next contraction, I did that. I gave a little push, and that was it. That set everything in motion. Definitely got very strong urges to push, which was odd for me because I had not experienced that, because with my last 2 labors, I had epidurals. I couldn't feel anything. So feeling that was very odd to me. So I started pushing. I didn't push for all that long. I don't know exactly how long. And then finally the pain caught up with me when baby crowned, because I was not prepared for that amount of intense pain then. Yeah, I cannot think of anything that would begin to describe how painful that part is. My husband told me later that after the baby was born and everything, he was joking with the midwife when I was out of ear range. There was another lady next door to me who was having a baby also. Apparently, I started screaming, and apparently I screamed loud enough that it scared the woman in labor next door, and she requested an epidural almost immediately. So I feel bad. Apparently I scared this poor woman who was next door to me, but holy cow, it was definitely just insanely painful. I cannot express how painful that was without an epidural. But baby came out. Baby was fine. Everything was fine. I did get to breastfeed, which that was another one of my things for not wanting an epidural, because I didn't breastfeed my last two kids, but I wanted to try breastfeeding this one. So I definitely got to do that. He got to snuggle with me for the first little bit. Everything ended up being just fine and perfect with this labor and delivery. I love all three of my kids, obviously, and I love all the stories of how all three of them came into the world. But this one, how he was born, I think was kind of maybe my ideal way if I was going to have another kid, which I'm not. That's physically impossible at this point. If I was going to have another kid, that is how I would do it. His sisters got to meet him shortly after he was born. We were discharged about 24 hours after the baby was born. So his sisters got to meet him, and they just love him. All three of my kids now have such a great relationship with each other that it's just, I wouldn't have asked for it any other way. But that being said, let's take a look at this build. Now, I wanted to build a smaller 8-sim house, and this house does fit 8 Sims. So you come in and walk in, you have kind of this, I don't know, reddish theme going on in the kitchen. Dream Home Decorator had just come out when I built this house, so we definitely have that kind of vibe with it. Now, one of the Sims in this does count as a pet. So you have a pet for one of your Sims. You come off here into like a little sunroom living room area, and then you have the bathroom right here, which, you know, a little small, a little crowded, has a washer and dryer in it. Coming upstairs, you come into this almost kind of a loft area, and you have different kid stuff. So you have like one of the little toddler blocks, you got some art, I hid the little decoration thing over there. We have some kid toys and stuff like that, and you have 3 bedrooms up here. So this first one over here is for 2 toddlers. I was envisioning girls, but obviously you could go through and change the colors of all of this if you wanted. You have 2 little toddler girls who would be on this side, and of course they have a small room, so a lot of their toddler stuff is out here. You have mom and dad's room over here to the side. Now, they do not have an ensuite bathroom. That was kind of one of the things that I had to give up, making this small, but I still think it's very, very nice. And then over here you have a room for, I was picturing 3 boys, be them teenagers or kids, but you have kind of the kids room over here and the dog bed, because like I said, one of the 8 Sims is an animal in this build. So yes, a very cute little small family home, but it does fit 8 Sims. But that being said, that is it for this video. That is it for the birth stories of Mommy Monday. I will still do other stories on Mommy Monday, of course, but as I only had 3 kids, I can only tell 3 birth stories. But let me know down in the comments below what you would like to see or watch as the next Mommy Monday. Is there a topic you'd like me to address? Just let me know down in the comments below. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button. I will see everyone next time. Bye!